into another edition of Inside Southeastern Sports. This week it is our women's basketball preview, now joined by Coach Darin Grover. Coach, you and I got to talk a few weeks ago, and now we're on the cusp of perhaps getting this season underway finally. Just your overall thoughts on the probability of getting to play, and how ready are you to coach not necessarily a new group, but you do have some new players on this team?
The probability, who knows? We've been talking all that kind of stuff since March, and every single week time that we come up with a prediction or what we think is going to happen, it's always wrong. So that's the experts. Never mind us that don't know anything. So we're planning to play. That's our plan. January 7th, we're going to be on the road and we're going to go play. So that's as far a prediction as on that. As far as work, can't remember exactly what the second part of the question was.
Well, just excited to coach a new group.
Yeah,
a relatively new group.
We've gotten to know them because we've been on the practice floor since August, and without being able to have any scrimmages or games, you really get to know them in an intimate way because you're getting to practice with them constantly. So, which isn't easy for the kids. I would prefer to have some outside competition, be able to gauge where we are as well. But the kids definitely don't like it. Now, us as coaches, we really love practice. They've got to go ahead and make sure that they come in with an attitude to work every single day without any outside competition to look forward to, at least for the first semester.
Do you feel, though, that having the extended practice, I mean, granted, you do have some reliable players coming back with Kamryn Cantwell and Briley Moon and, of course, Katie Branham, Hayden Williams, amongst others, but it is a relatively young group when you look at the roster, and you lacking practice as much as you do. Do you feel that this extra time is a benefit, not a detriment?
Well, I think it's definitely been a benefit from the standpoint of, yes, getting extra reps with those new ones. But I would like to be able to take them and play against some outside competition, be able to tell who is going to, when the lights come on, who's going to be ready to go play. And I think the only way you can ever really tell that is by getting them in regular competition. So it has been nice with all those new ones, because we've had 6 new ones that we're having to try to work in and try to figure out how to play. So we've needed some extra time, but it'd be nice to have some competition.
Let's talk about who's coming back, and let's start with the backcourt, Cantwell, Moon. What have you seen advancement-wise in their game?
They have both taken a major step up in just everything from effort to just their leadership. I mean, both of them, I think both of them were really, really good players, all the way to pretty great players a year ago. They've taken a major step up on both of them. It's just their focus, their intensity, their leadership. I'm excited to be able to see both of those kids on the floor. So they've done exactly what we wanted.
Of course, Hayden Williams, her development maybe slowed a little bit, but with that being said, where do you see her, Katie Branham? Because that's kind of what you have returning in the front court aspect.
I'll start with Katie Branham because she's actually been practicing with us. Last year, she took a little bit of a step backwards in the scoring area. Now, she had some big games for us. Had she not stepped up, we wouldn't have won those games. But with the emergence of Briley Moon and Cam, obviously we can talk about Katie Webb. But with Katie Branham, she took a little bit of a step backwards last year. The amount that she stepped back last year, she gained that back plus some this fall. I mean, she has been outstanding on the floor. You mentioned Hayden Williams. She hasn't been able to practice with us since August, really at all, because in August she had a knee surgery, so she's been rehabbing on that. But we do fully expect to have her back, and she will be a major contributor for us.
You haven't, even in the past, and really it's been more recently that you've, started getting, I guess you could say, some true fives and some real size down there. But Logan Ostrich was a player that kind of came in, filled that need a year ago. Where did you guys set position-wise with that going into this season?
Well, just pure 5. We got one on the roster as of right now, and that's Casey Monk. Kind of a local girl from Whitesboro, Texas. She last year was hampered by injuries really the whole year, and so she's come back and is healthier. At 6'3", so she gives us some much-needed size. Has great hands and is starting to figure things out. Now, she didn't get a whole lot of practice time last year, so as a freshman, she was hampered with that. But she's been able to get more time this year, and I think that she will be able to give us that needed size and presence inside.
You've always been a coach, never fearful to throw freshmen out into the fire. And with that, you've got several freshmen this year. With that extra practice time from your coaching mindset, are you a little bit more comfortable maybe than normal being able to put those freshmen out there in those situations? Or are you still in that mindset of, I want to see a game?
I want to see a game. I think that, yes, I think that it's been nice to have some extra practice time with them, but we got to see a game to be able to tell exactly what they're going to be able to do. You know, somebody that's definitely going to have to hopefully come in as one of our freshman point guards. Tracy Johnson graduates a year ago. She was our backup point guard, plus a girl that played a ton for us, just in the wing position as well. But we've got to have somebody come in and spell Cam, and then also give Cam some opportunities to run the 2 or the 3. You know, and that's going to come in the form of Amy Alverson is a freshman coming in. Now she's little, but she's about as skilled a player as I've ever coached in the 26 years that I've coached. So we're expecting some big things out of her. Another one is Macy Bookout, is a point guard and a girl from Roy City, Texas. Same thing. She's very, very skilled and has one of the quickest first steps of any kid that we've got on our roster. So both those players should see some time at the 1. And of course, that's a specialized position, but that's definitely a position where you got to see them in game competition.
And I mean, you talk about that in game competition, and the one thing that really kind of stands out, just thinking about the conference as a whole and things that, you know, created issues in the past, things like full court pressure. Well, how can, I mean, to me, there's no real way. Yeah, you can practice against the press, but until you've got fans in the stands and, like you said, the lights on, that's something that you really can't prep for.
We can't simulate it anyway very well. When you're talking about a team that plays that way, that plays 94 feet, pressing the whole time, trapping the whole time, that's what they do every single day in practice. You can't simulate that. Something we did last year quite a bit was get male practice players in, and we simulated a little bit of that. Well, we haven't been able to do any of that this year, and of course nobody else has as well. But so I think that with that being said, that's an area that we definitely in recruiting wanted to address, was more and more teams playing full court and pressing. And so I believe with the 2 that I mentioned, as far as their skill and their quickness, I think that'll help us.
One thing that's different this year than in years past, with what has basically been agreed upon within the Great American Conference, it's an East-West scenario divisional split. In other words, you're going to be playing your Oklahoma schools 4 times, 2 here, 2 there. How does that change anything in your book?
Well, I think that's going to go to adjustments from one game to the other. When you play teams twice, you know, you play them, say, at their place, and then you come back a month later and play them at your place, or maybe a month and a half later, there's probably not going to be some major adjustments that you're going to make. You know, you're going to go in thinking, okay, we're going to do what we do, and whether it works or it doesn't, you're going to make some small adjustments. When you play 4 times, like an NBA type of a situation, you may face some teams that completely change what they do the second time, third time, fourth time that you play them, and we're going to have to make adjustments in how we play as well. So I think that from a coaching standpoint, we're all going to be having to make those adjustments, and our players are going to have to be able to take those adjustments in and be able to do them on the court.
Do you see that happening across the league, of you guys having, you know, everybody talks about halftime adjustments. I think you and I have had this conversation. Sometimes you can't wait till halftime. How key is the communication that you're building now in practice to be able to set those adjustments at a media timeout, so forth and so on?
I think it's going to be big, and then we've got COVID, masks, and everything else on top of that. I think that your guard play is going to be huge, and how that your guards, especially particularly your point guard, can get that information to your team on the floor as we're trying to yell across the court. Now, the good thing is, I guess, there's not very many fans, so it won't be real loud, apparently. But I think that those adjustments during the game at halftime, before we even get to the game, are going to be big.
I'll get you out of here on this, because I've been in all your games for a number of years now. Do you see the mask impeding your ability to get what you want out onto the court at all through your vocal cords?
You would think that with the way that my voice carries, that it won't be a problem at all. I can tell you with first.
Have you practiced with it yet?
Well, we wear it every day in practice.
Yeah.
Coaches, our players, yes, it makes a difference on the court. So they can't hear me as well. Now, well, maybe y'all have to make an adjustment and try to project my voice even more. But usually that's not a problem, but the mask does impede it some.
That may be something that comes into play when the lights come on for you. Maybe you get a little...
I need to practice it in here by myself.
Yeah, exactly. Again, talking with Darin Grover. Coming up, we continue on our women's basketball preview. We will talk with Kamryn Cantwell coming up next on Inside Southeastern Sports. Welcome back to Inside Southeastern Sports as we continue on with our women's basketball preview. Now joined by one of the stars of this year's team and a star of last year's team, Kamryn Cantwell. Cam, how have you enjoyed the off-season? Obviously a weird one.
It's definitely been different. I feel like we've been practicing forever. But the good thing is we got so many new ones, so I think at the end of the day we're going to benefit from this, just practicing for so long. This is kind of a different year, and this is a new role for me, having so many new ones and being an older one, so the extra practice has probably been a good thing.
We haven't really got to talk since last year whenever the postseason basically got ripped away from you guys. First, go back to that when you guys were notified that the NCAA tournament was off. What was your emotions as a player, and then the emotions of the team as a whole?
Oh man, it was heartbreaking. You know, we got down there, we were fixing to practice, we had our practice gear on and everything, we were ready to go, and you know, we were so excited to be there, and I felt like we were playing really good at the time. I was just really heartbroken just because I know how much time and work we put into this year, and it was one of our goals to be in that situation, and so I just kind of felt like we just kind of got robbed of it. And then of course the seniors, you know, and they had a really great attitude about it, you know, going out on a win, but I hated it for them just because I know that they wanted to compete in that, and you know, they wouldn't get a chance to try to get back to that same situation this year.
Of course, one of the positives, you guys got your conference championship rings. How often do you wear it? Do you wear it around the house, or I mean?
I really haven't worn it that much. I'm not even really sure where to wear it. Like, I'm still figuring that out.
You just like walk in somewhere occasionally and just go bling.
Yeah, but when I do get to wear it, I love it. So
with that season kind of being undercut, and now an opportunity to get started, albeit late, how much fuel does that add for you? Obviously, you're a junior. You've got a junior, a co-worker, I guess you could say, in Briley Moon. You two have been standout since your freshman years. How much does that kind of add to your fire going into this season?
It definitely does, just because, you know how much fun it was last year. You know, to win the regular season, to win the conference tournament, and then to be in that situation where you're going to play at the NCAA tournament, you know, it was a blast. And I want the newer ones to experience that too. And so that's just basically what my mentality has been so far, is just, you know, I know that this is where we got to be, and that's where I want us to go.
One of the interesting things, at least storyline for me as play-by-play guy throughout this, last year, you know, you graduate, Katie Webb, you alluded to this, seniors Katie, and then of course Logan Ostrich graduating. That leadership role falls a little bit more onto your plate this year. How are you embracing that? I mean, you can train in the gym, but training for leadership, that's something that really I don't know how you would do that.
Yeah, I've definitely taken on a bigger role. You know, having Katie was great on the floor and off the floor. You know, there's a lot that she did that a lot of people didn't see, you know, just her leadership. But it's definitely something I've had to kind of learn a little bit. You know, as a freshman, I was the one learning, and you know, we had leaders, and then last year we didn't have a whole lot of new people, so I still really wasn't having to be that leader. And so this year, that's kind of what I've had to be. And so I think for me, just coming in every day and just kind of setting the tone as, you know, this is where we got to be, this is what Coach Grover wants. And some days it's more vocal, some days it's just more of trying to be the example.
With that, does it make that accepting that role a little bit easier, given the fact that, you know, you looked at your roster this year, there's a lot of freshmen on that roster. Does it make that leadership role maybe a little bit more acceptable, given the fact that there are a lot of new faces on this team?
It does, yeah, just because they're looking for someone that, you know, can kind of take them under their wing and be like, you know, this is what needs to be done, this is how we're going to do it. And so, you know, I felt like they've done a great job of responding to, you know, trying to set an example for them.
Coach Grover always says, you know, you guys hate practice, you're ready to play games. You had said a while ago that you felt like you've practiced more this year than any year prior. Talk a little bit about that aspect of it. What have you as a player worked on in your game, and what are some of the things that your teammates are working on? I mean, obviously you do have some people coming back. We mentioned Briley a moment ago. Kate Brandham's back as well, amongst others. What are some of the things you're working on, and how do you see this team kind of evolving?
Yeah, so obviously, practicing for a long time, but I've tried to find, a new love for practice. I think coming into this, I was like, this is how it's gonna be. We're gonna be practicing, like, there's no reason to be like a bad attitude about it, so I've tried to kind of embrace, coming in every day and competing. And I think for me, just more intense just on both sides of the floor. Defensively, I've tried to be better. And I think we have all around. That's kind of one thing that we're working on, is just pressuring, getting more touches on the ball, and just being more aggressive on the defensive side.
Do you find that having last season in the way it did, mentally, does it make practice maybe a little bit more acceptable, because you do kind of, as a junior, see the timetable on this thing?
For sure, yeah. You just don't take it for granted now. Last year, after that happened, I never would have thought we would get down there and be sent back home. And so that just kind of goes to show that, you never know what tomorrow brings. And so that's kind of the attitude, mentality I've had, is just, I don't really know what's going to happen the rest of the year, how many games we're going to get to play, really. So just embracing it. And being a junior, time is running out.
Again, talking with Kamryn Cantwell. Well, Cam, first of all, thanks for a great season a year ago, and look forward to all the highlights you and your teammates will provide this season. Good luck moving forward.
Thank you.
Of course, that's going to wrap it up for our women's basketball edition, our women's preview here on Inside Southeastern Sports. To follow along with all things Southeastern, go to GoSoutheastern.com.